And we are live. This is Travis from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the overall trading market. I hope everybody's doing very well on this on this Wednesday evening. Going through what we're going to end up doing is going through and take a look at some of the trades that we ended up taking earlier today, and also being able to see if there's any other opportunities that we could possibly be able to get into for his overall trading activity. We've struck out twice on U.S. yen. The United States dollar has started to gain a little bit more strength. It made it a little bit easier for us to be able to get into the trade that we end up getting into based off of gold and based off of what's happening with oil. So we're going to end up talking about that plus more in our live session today. Let's go ahead and get through the disclaimer, and then after that, we'll start talking to everybody. So I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from an education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind, and understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it is not promised that you can end up making money today. So with that being said, as we go through and be able to take a look at the charts, be able to look at what's going on with the overall markets, I am actually going to end up showing myself onto the screen real quick. I want to make sure that everybody can be able to see me. What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's doing very well. Thank you for being able to pop in for the first-time watchers and the long-term listeners. Long-term watchers as well. Very excited to be able to talk to each and every one of y'all. Do me a favor, inside of the chat box, tell me if you end up having a green day or a red day. For the people that are watching this as well, understand that for some reason the Trading View chat does not necessarily push out all the questions as fast as possible. So if you would take the time to be able to go through our community Discord and be able to place in your question throughout there. The people that do that will end up getting first priority when it comes down to all of the questions, at least at this particular point in time, until we end up figuring out what's going on with the overall system and everything else with the live stream. So I'm going to place in the messages. Like I said, I'm not able to see all of the messages from this standpoint, at least not from right now. So if you go and you want to be able to place in a message, you want to be able to talk or communicate and anything else like that, all you have to do is just be able to go inside of our free portion of our Discord. Once you end up going into the free portion of the Discord, what you end up seeing is that we have a section that is built out now for live stream questions and being able to go from there. So all you have to do is go to the live stream questions portion of the overall Discord, and then after that, I can be able to see your questions and be able to answer them right then and there, instead of me having to be able to refresh the overall screen. But once again, type in if you end up having a green day or red day. Always cool to be able to see how well people end up doing. I'm going to end up creating another tab to be able to refresh off of the screen and be able to see if there's anything that comes up. But that may end up slowing us down if we end up doing it that way. So once again, please make sure that you end up going to the overall Discord. Go ahead and get locked into your free portion of that. Get placed inside of the farm, and then after that, go to the live stream questions portion of the farm, and then after that, you can be able to see it from there. So once again, all you have to do is just go to this area, go to the live stream questions, and we can be able to talk throughout there and be able to get that done. So I'm going to give everybody a little bit of time to be able to place that in. While y'all doing that, I'm going to actually go through and make sure that the good old folks on the red brand on YouTube can be able to see what I'm actually placing in when it comes down to questions as well. Okay, so give me one quick second. I'm getting ready to place that in very quickly, and then from there, everybody will be good to go. But once again, type in if you end up having a green day or a red day. Always good to be able to know how well people end up doing when it came down to the overall trading day. Let's see. Man, I've been staring at these screens a little bit too much today. Jeez. Let's see. Paste that in. And let's do this real quick. Also, if you are part of if you're part of this group, you're following what we're doing when it comes down to all of the stuff that we have on Trading View. Please, I'm saying please at this particular point. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about what we end up doing or being able to get some other videos that we end up having on YouTube, don't hesitate to be able to subscribe to YouTube as well. Obviously, being able to push that up allows me to be able to get more content, be able to actually be able to add more stuff onto what we do for a overall group and standpoint when it comes down to each and every brand and everything else. There's certain things that I can just be able to place on YouTube. They'll be a little bit faster than just trying to do it on Discord and being able to kind of go from there. But um, yeah, I would like to be able to place in some of that information as well as we go through. So there we go. I believe that everybody should be able to see me on. Everybody should be able to see me on YouTube. So I'm gonna go into that live stream link as well. We can go from there. All right. So perfect. But Green Day, Red Day, Green Day, Red Day. Type it in. Let's see how well everything's going on. What's going on, Rich? Rich, answer this question: Green Day or Red Day? Green Day or Red Day? Okay, perfect. YouTube is working. Perfect, 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 perfect. But how well did you end up doing today? Was it a Green Day or was it a Red Day for you, big dog? All right, Green Bean. There we go. There we go. Cryptocurrency killer inside of the building. Cryptocurrency killer inside of the building. So overall, today was a fundamentals day, and when it came down to how the market actually ended up moving, wanted to be able to see, how the market was going to end up reacting. We ended up having the Australian ended up having the unemployment rate actually ended up being 3.5. We ended up seeing that the Bank of Canada actually ended up having their consumer price index actually ended up being better, but we'll see how that kind of affects what's happening with oil and everything else like that. It ended up being 6%, and then after that, consumer price index ended up coming out from the pound. They actually ended up being 10.1, so it was a little bit better overall when it came down to that movement as well. So being able to take a look at some of those pairs, if y'all are interested in being able to go through and see and being able to talk about some of those pairs, let's go ahead and type that in. We'll go ahead and start talking about those overall pairs. Also, remember, we end up getting into gold. We actually end up getting into oil as well. If you did take a trade on those overall positions, um, we end up placing those in as well. So you would like to be able to take a look at those positions. We can be able to talk about that as well as we go through and see what's actually happening and being able to go from there. Matter of fact, let me talk about gold real quick because we actually end up placing this in the morning session. If you end up taking that trade in the morning session, obviously you know exactly what I'm talking about for that entry. And then after that, make it a little bit easier for you to be able to figure out what you're going to end up doing overall when it comes down to that movement. Very close to being able to take profit off of this one. So I hope that, hopefully, obviously, that joke can end up riding out and being able to go. But essentially, this is what happened. From a daily perspective, we end up seeing that oil, we end up seeing that gold is basically getting a little bit oversold at this particular point. But from a 2-hour perspective, we end up seeing that it was inside a consolidation box. I end up saying that I wasn't necessarily going to be interested in being able to get in if the market ended up breaking down to this point at 1640. But when I end up seeing it this morning, we truly end up seeing a breakout, a retest, and then a full movement to the downside. Once that ended up happening, it gave me a little bit of confirmation to say, okay, well, maybe it's time to be able to get into this trade and kind of ride it out. I posted it up inside of our trade ideas areas inside of the Discord. And then after that, the market ended up pushing to the downside. From there, we still have a take profit position that's expected to be at 16.15 for its overall movement. Currently, right now, we're probably about 9 points away from that overall movement. It keeps on moving to the downside. If you did not get into this trade at this particular point, the question is, should you look at being able to get in? That answer is kind of relative. Let me explain what I mean by relative. When it comes down to this movement, we end up seeing that the market has given us a counter trend line break at this particular point. What's going on, Steve? Hope everything's going well. Steve said he ended up having a red day. No worries. You're going to end up getting it back. I know you ended up having a good green day yesterday, so hopefully it didn't cover up most of your winnings yesterday, or take away most of your winnings yesterday. But we can see that the market is starting to give us a strong candlestick for its overall movement to the downside. The market is getting closer to the sell zone, so if you're doing anything for this overall entry, I would say possibly end up placing your stop loss or where we end up getting in at 1634, and then after that trying to ride it down for the next 10 points of overall movement to the downside and being able to go from there. As I end up writing inside of the Discord, I end up taking partial profit on a move a little bit earlier, and then after that, just let the rest kind of ride out. But we'll see how the market keeps on going to the downside and kind of moving from there. Okay, that's how we end up kind of pushing it and kind of going from there. I do think that overall we're doing well when it comes down to that overall movement. Let's see. Hope they fix your chat. Still got my eye on the flying car. Hey, man, me too. Hey, when you start talking about it, you end up having me impressed by it. So I was like, hey, I'm definitely interested in being able to get into it. And we end up going from there. Paul, what's going on? That's my friend. It's hard working what we do. We're in the U.S. Where you located? I'm actually in North Carolina. Actually been living here pretty much my whole life. So yeah, there we go. Now, look out here, go to United States dollar index to see what's happening with that one. Obviously, if gold ended up going down, and that meant that the market ended up popping up. Now, remember, we ended up talking about this one as an opportunity of maybe getting in if the market ended up pushing up towards that area. But I kept on talking about it's the diminishing return, so I wasn't necessarily interested. So let me explain about what I truly meant by that. From a weekly perspective, the market has hit a D extension. Hit a D extension a while ago, and then after that started pushing up and trying to go to another one. The market ended up retracing to the 23.6. Remember, because the market ended up retracing to the 23.6, it's typically basically a part of this thing called an 80-20 rule. 80-20 rule means that there's an 80% chance that when the market gets to the 127 or right around the 127 that the market will start to be able to U-turn, and 20% that it would continue to complete its overall de-extension at 13,827. Currently, right now, what's happening on this overall movement is that this market was in consolidation, fell down to support yesterday. It fell down to support yesterday at 13,412, and since then has been popping up to the upside. Now, it has not hit the top of the overall resistance of this overall move, so that makes it kind of hard to be able to say, hey, if I'm interested in being able to get in. But if you look at the body of the candlesticks, the body of the candlesticks are right here, are right around that 13,515 area. So if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, if you're thinking about being able to get in when it comes down to a movement, that may be the area where you may be a little bit more aggressive for us being able to get in, trying to get it at the top of resistance. But me personally, if you know me, you know that I hate trading inside of consolidation, so I've stayed away when it came down to this overall movement overall. So I'm not interested in being able to trade. What's going on, Roger? Hope everything's going well with you. Roger, how you end up doing today for your trades? Did you end up having a good? Did you end up having a You end up having a green day or red day? XP, we'll take a look at that stock again. I know we end up taking a look at that one time before, Steve. So we'll take a look at it again. Got a little bit of time to be able to take a look at it. We will get to it. Roger, I hope you end up having a good trading day. Obviously, you can be able to type inside of the Discord chat as well, inside of the live stream question, so I can be able to see exactly when you give me a message instead of me having to refresh. But United States dollar index, I'm not going to do anything off of it yet. We'll see how the market kind of reacts based off of that. Let's go U.S. oil real quick. U.S. oil, remember, we're looking at being able to get into a buy. Bam, there it went right there. Okay, so we end up buying on U.S. oil when the market broke above 84.30. The whole thought process was that, remember, we end up saying from a daily perspective, we expected that the market was going to fall down. Well, we end up seeing that the market broke out of 81.94 last week. Remember, we ended up getting into the trade. We took profit at 86. We took profit at 88. We tried to get it all the way up to 95. That did not happen. Now, because of that, and because of that movement just alone, now we have a fractal that we can be able to work off of for the overall position. At least I think we have a fractal that we can be able to work off of when it comes down to that position. There goes your fractal right there. Market ended up falling down to the 618. The 618 was at 82.88. And if this market continues to move at its path, it could go all the way up to 104.33 when it comes down to that movement overall. Now, keep in mind, it is the winter months. And from a common sense perspective, because people use heat and people use gasoline and kerosene inside to be able to warm up their homes, the price of the oil is going to end up going up when it comes down to value. Typically, it happens every year. So that's the reason why I'm so interested in being able to buy, because I've noticed for year after year after year, from October all the way until January, you see that the market continuously starts to keep on rising when it comes down to price. So we want to be able to take advantage of that because historically, that's what ends up happening. Good day. Roger ended up having a green day. There we go. There we go. Good to hear. But I wanted to be able to keep on looking at being able to buy when it comes down to that movement. From a 2-hour perspective, we end up seeing that the market was in consolidation. And I remember earlier when we were talking about it, we were talking about being able to get in right when the market ended up hitting 84 at first. And I was like, okay, well, let's just wait a little bit. We'll see how the market kind of reacts. And we will wait until getting in at 84.30. Since then, the market ended up breaking out at 84.30, ended up happening, skyrocketed up, pushed to the outside of this to this counter trend line break. We have a breakout. Typically, when you end up having a breakout, you end up having a retest. As long as this market holds when it comes down to this position, even if it retests 84.30 again, I am okay with being able to see the market kind of push up from there, especially once it gets into a 2-hour buy zone and ends up breaking the counter trend line break. If that does happen, then I think that we'll be good to go for us being able to see this thing start to ride out all the way up to the 95 number that we were talking about for full take profit. Now, remember, I ended up saying 2 different take profit levels. The first one was at 88.50. The second one was at 94.59. If you're not in the market as of yet, what I will end up saying is wait for a counter trend line break. If you end up getting that, then after that, look at being able to possibly take an entry and being able to go from there. Okay, so currently right now, if you are in, you should be in with profit. If you're not in, maybe one of those times where you would kind of consider being able to get in based off a counter trend line break. 15-minute is not in the buy zone yet, so it may end up being a little bit of an area to be able to fall, but we are resting above this overall consolidation area. Okay, so there we go. As the market is making a move from there. Okay, now we got in the oil, we got in the gold. Both of those are positive at this particular point. I'm hoping that gold will end up continue to keep on moving towards the upside. We kind of ride that out a little bit more and see how that kind of plays out. But currently right now, there's really nothing to be able to do off of this one unless you're going to end up buying. If you do buy, obviously your stop loss is at 81.94 for the overall low. Now, what I'm going to end up doing is that I'm going to end up allowing y'all to be able to lead the session on this one. So which pairs would y'all like to be able to talk about when it comes down to it? Would y'all like to be able to talk about the typical ones that we do, or is there certain other pairs that y'all would like to be able to take a look at overall? I'm going to get into US 30, and I am going to get into NAS, and obviously may end up getting into DAX a little bit, but if there's any other pairs that y'all would like to be able to talk about, place them inside of the chat box. That'll allow me to be able to know what direction we're going to end up going when it comes down to this pair. And I have a random question for y'all. I don't necessarily do random questions a lot, but I do have kind of a random question. First off, I'm a school teacher, and in order for me to be able to entertain myself and entertain my students, I end up having random questions for them all the time. So this is kind of weird, but I want to ask y'all anyway. What is the difference between a superhero and a hero? What is the difference between a superhero and a hero? And I'm going to double down on that question. I'm going to end up asking you this. Would Batman, Superman, or Batman, Iron Man, and Black Panther all be considered to be superheroes or heroes? Okay, that's my question for y'all. Random question. I know it is, but want to be able to know what y'all thought process is. We end up getting to some spirited debates based off of that question inside of our classroom today. So a random thought. I just want to see what people end up thinking about that. All right, so US 30. Let's see, US 30, what is happening when it comes down to this movement overall? From a daily perspective, market is in the sell zone. We're getting to a point to where superheroes say to heroes. But going back to that question, Rich, is Iron Man a superhero or a hero? Is Batman a superhero or a hero? Same thing with Black Panther. The question is, my thought process was that they are superheroes. But I end up having a person in class argue me down saying that they're just heroes because they don't have a natural power. Superpowers, so Batman doesn't have any. That makes sense. It makes sense. But Batman's power is, wouldn't you consider that Batman? When you consider that Batman's power is basically his, to be honest, his money and his wittiness. It's the same thing with Iron Man, right? His smarts is his superpower. Superheroes have natural powers. Okay, I agree with that. So in your case, Rich, then you're basically saying that you would say that Black Panther is not a superhero; he's just a hero. Is that what I'm getting from you? While you type that, let me go ahead and finish on this real quick. So, from an hourly perspective, what has happened is this. Um, Market was in consolidation. We end up talking about that the actual consolidation low will be at 30,370. Now, the reason why I didn't like the market actually falling at this particular point was because we end up talking about how this market had a larger built out consolidation block that we were kind of paying attention to, where the resistance was 30,450 and the support was 29,650 overall when it came down to that movement. So my thought process was that if the market was going to end up falling, the question would be where would it fall down to? Now, the simple answer would end up being basically a natural support, which would end up being at 29,661. But overall, we know that the market has been bearish overall, but typically in October, this is one of those areas where you'll see a strong consolidation, strong support, and then after that, seeing the market start to push back up if the market is ready to be able to do that. Currently, right now, I don't know if the market is ready to be able to do that, and we are breaking below in this overall point. But if we break below in this overall point, we're going back inside of consolidation. So I did not take a trade on US 30 because of that reason. Um, and currently, right now, I feel the same way. I still don't think that I'm probably going to end up taking a trade off of this, even though the market is breaking below as we speak when it comes down to this movement. Yeah, Black Panther's non-superhero. That's the only one that I kind of agree with. But I end up saying that um, uh, my thought process was that I thought that they were superheroes only because if you really kind of think about it, um, there has to be a body count on how many people that you actually naturally save for you to be considered to be a superhero. If Batman and if Iron Man are not superheroes based off of the people that they end up saving, then I don't know what a superhero is. Um, Now, obviously, natural powers and everything else like that, genetics and all the other stuff makes it a little bit different. But um, yeah, but so let's go with what we know. Let's just talk about what we know. Moving average. Moving average is showing that it's bearish. VWAP is saying that it's bearish. Don Chain is saying that it's bearish. Daily is saying that we're looking at selling opportunities. The market is ready to be able to fall. Hypothetically, superheroes have mythical heroes superheroes are mythical heroes or real people. Yeah, I understand that. I get that as well. I get that as well. Uh, you basically saying that you need an Xbox achievement to become a superhero? Absolutely, absolutely. But out of all of those people, my next question that I end up asking them, simply put, was, who is your favorite superhero, or who's your favorite villain, or whichever one, or which one would you rather look at all of the time? Um, and it's none of the heroes. I would watch a Joker video. I watch a Joker movie more than anything else. Joker for me is probably my favorite character when it comes down to anybody, whether if it's a superhero or a villain, um, and being able to go from there. But once again, he doesn't have like a super villain power either, aside from just being psychotic. Uh, so everything is showing that it's downside movement, and even with that being said, I don't feel comfortable taking a sale, which is kind of weird because typically, if we're looking at this, the market would the market could naturally fall down to 32.17 or 32.20, which is about another 150 points at this particular point in time when it comes down to that movement. But the 15 minutes in the buy zone, we're basically back at this little natural support. I don't. I'm not gonna take. I'm not gonna take a trade off of that one. Hopefully, I'm not kicking myself when it comes down to that. I guess Superman can't fly without a suit. I think. Come to think of it, I mean, everybody has their own fatal flaw. Everyone has his own fatal flaw. Um, and that's just like one person ended up asking me, okay, well, then what would you consider Deadpool to be? I was like, Deadpool is an anti-hero. He is the movie Deadpool, not the cartoon character Deadpool, or not the comic book Deadpool. Uh, he's an anti-hero, which makes him even cooler than pretty much everyone else, just because he's a little bit of both. Um, US 30, I'm not going to do anything with. I'm going to stay away from it. We'll kind of figure that out as the market kind of goes on. And I keep on feeling better about it because as long as gold keeps on pushing down to the downside, then we should be okay. But keep this in mind. If United States dollar is getting stronger, then typically what you'll see is that US 30 gets weaker, which means that we should be selling. Okay. Tell me what you think. Answer that question. I want to know what y'all think. I want to know what y'all think when it comes down to this one. Should we do something on US 30? Should we throw something at US 30 or we should just wait? I'm gonna leave that one up to y'all. I'm torn on US 30 if I'm being very honest. Everything is telling me that we should look at being able to sell. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. Let's go Nas 100 real quick. Let's see. Reload the page. Nas 100 broke. Okay, so um, we end up talking about this trade a little bit earlier today, and if you end up placing it in, we end up talking about it as an idea, but if you end up placing it in, the order was at 11,040. The stop loss was above 11,105. Take profit in this position was at 10,890. If you're already in on that position, market ended up moving at this particular point right around 60 something points at this particular point. Um, Pretty good movement off of that one. We end up giving three different types of ideas off of this one. We end up saying that you can do a strategy for, which meant that you were looking at seeing that the market was going to end up pushing up, or you can just go with our original strategies of being able to see when the market ends up breaking out and then going after the being able to trade up to the next high volume node that ends up basically matching up with it. So you end up getting into that trade. You are in a sale once again. You should be up about 50 points off of that movement. Congratulations to you if you end up doing that one. Being honest, I placed that one as a idea. I don't think that I triggered that trade. No, I did not place in that trade. So for the people that did, congratulations. I did not place in that trade today. But that was the trade idea. So if you did place in that trade, congratulations to you based off of that movement. Let it ride out. Keep on doing your thing. See how everything goes. Protect yourself when it comes down to that movement. Other than that, I'm going to take a look at XPIV just because Steve's been bringing that one up, and I want to see how well it's doing. I think we end up placing the end something on for that one a little bit earlier. So, plus, I wouldn't mind having a flying car either. So we'll see how the thing kind of goes. All right. So simply put, this is what we end up talking about a little bit earlier. We end up saying that the market was in consolidation. We'll see how the market kind of reacts based off of that consolidation. If it stayed up, then I'll look at being able to get in. Since then, the market has failed, went and showed a little bit more consolidation again, fell again. Currently, the market right now is at $7. The low is at $7.50. Currently, right now, the top of it is at $7.67. from a weekly perspective, I mean, not a weekly perspective, but from an hourly perspective, um, we still got a little ways to go. Remember, I said I wasn't getting in until we end up breaking this counter trend line break. So until that happens, there's nothing to be able to do. For people that are still stacking up on that move, keep on doing your thing. Obviously, got a little bit more room for this to be able to move. Hopefully, it just doesn't. Hopefully, it just doesn't push all the way down to the downside. But for people that have been short in this market since it literally got up to $37, um, man, that's a hell of a move. But the ride back up will be also cool as well. So we'll see how that kind of reacts. I got a few more minutes for another pair. If you are interested in being able to talk to it inside of the chat box, please make sure that you end up writing what pair that actually is. Biden find 400 million barrels when oil gets to $67. So there's that. So you think it's going to fall again? So you think oil is going to fall again, Steve? Hmm. We got somebody on YouTube. They end up placing a message. 6Z, what's going on? Hope everything's going well with you. I'm sorry, I didn't see that message a little bit earlier. Should have flashed on my screen. But do me a favor, so I won't miss your next message that you end up placing in. And I do apologize. I don't know when you end up placing in that message. Um, Go to the Discord. Make sure that you end up clicking onto that link. Get inside of our get into our free area, and then after that, go to our live stream question area so I can be able to see your message. I definitely want to be able to talk. Bitcoin weekly. Let's take a look at that real quick. Is Bitcoin still inside of that consolidation that we talked about, Rich? I think it might be. Hmm. You can use BLX for more history. Okay. All right. So remember the last time we ended up talking about it? I'm not okay. So we're going. All right. Weekly perspective. Obviously, we had the high watermarks at 65,000. The heavy support was at 29,000. Then after that, it fell down. Currently, right now, we're in another consolidation at this particular point, to where hopefully the bottom doesn't fall out at 18,240. 18,240, what area is an area where I would say if you're looking at being able to get in for being able to buy, that will probably be one of the areas that I will end up paying attention to. Uh, and we end up going from there. Market Explorer, what's going on? I end up seeing that you end up, I think you end up signing up or basically joining or following a little bit earlier today. So thanks for being able to pop in. Um, but if you want to be able to hop in, there is the link down at the bottom. That is the free portion of the membership for the Trade with Travis servers and being able to see that. Once you end up getting into that, obviously go to under the farm, go to live stream questions so I can be able to see your message and being able to go from there. Also, we end up having a premium area. We'll talk about that right before we get out of here as well. Rich ended up saying I'm 60-40 on this being the bottom. Yeah, typically in October, that's when the market typically starts to be able to make its move toward the upside. Um, some folks are calling for a 10K drop. I can see that happening as well. And the reason why I can see that happening is because if you look at just from a daily perspective, if you look at a daily perspective just based off of fibs alone, um, take away everything else. We're just looking just based off of fibs. Market ended up retracing to the 382. All right, market ended up retracing to the 236, fell down to the 382. Obviously, 80-20 rule from there. But if it does fall, hypothetically, if it does fall, let me get rid of some of this. See if I can change the color of some of this stuff real quick. Okay, that's a three. That's take profit right there. All right, it could go all the way down to 10,897. So basically 11,000. Last few times that it consolidated, it dropped 40%. Yes, it did. Remember at 29,000, it dropped all the way down to 18,000 before being able to find any type of ground. And from there, remember, it ended up going inside of this large consolidation. Want more perks for everyone. Enable the boost bar under the service settings. Toggle on. Okay, that what happens? Okay, we'll get back to that. But yeah, once that ended up happening, it actually ended up falling down a little bit more from that $51,000 mark before it actually ended up dropping from there. So yeah, it can be scary times if it ends up breaking below 18,240. If it breaks below 18,240 and then when it retests, if it rejects hard again, then it's truly going to end up falling when it comes down to that movement. So yes, kind of afraid of that. This overall for the people that are in it from a long-term perspective. Now, for the people that are licking the chops to be able to getting in at 11,000 is nothing more than just a value to be able to get in. But you're talking about going all the way back to the numbers that we end up seeing in 2020 before this market actually ended up running. So I don't know. It'll be a long time before anybody really starts to see this market kind of pop back up, if that's the case. But let's kind of dive into it a little bit more. So this is our consolidation that we've been paying attention to. We've been in this consolidation for a while now at this particular point. Remember, 18,240 is the natural support, but we're basically in a consolidation inside of a consolidation when it comes down to this area. So right around 18,900 is basically that little bottom support area, at least from this midterm consolidation. If it breaks below that, then it can go down to 18,240. I do expect that there's going to be a lot of orders right around that 18,240 area that may end up pushing the market back up. If they cannot hold, then yes, it's going to fall a lot. Is there any news from an economic standpoint that could be a catalyst to be able to push the market up or to the downside? Rich, I'm going to ask you that question because obviously you know it a little bit more. Market Explorer just added you on to the farm. Thanks for being able to pop in. I do appreciate it. Welcome to the Tradewithtravis server. Obviously, we got a lot more stuff that you can be able to take a look at. We'll go through that. We'll go through that along the way. But for currently right now, like anything, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna see it. Gonna see how this market kind of plays out. I am placing an order at 18,240 just to be able to see what will happen off of that. But my stop loss is going to be very tight off of that. But until that happens, there's really nothing for me to be able to do off of that. Just some country passing laws for being unintended. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Not yet. Anybody else? Anybody else have a pair that they would like to be able to talk about? Anybody else have a pair that they would like to be able to talk about at this point? If not, then I'll go ahead and call it a night and we'll get started back in the morning. Matter of fact, let's break down the trades that we have talked about at this particular point. If you end up taking a trade off of NAS 100 earlier this morning, based off of what we ended up talking about, you should be up about 60 points on that movement. That was from 11,040 all the way down to take profit and that 10,890. The stop loss was above 11,107 when it came down to that movement. We end up getting into oil and we end up getting into gold. Let's go with gold real quick just to be able to quickly review. Gold, we end up getting into a trade at 1634 and at 1641. Stop loss for the people that end up getting in at 1634 was at 1641. For the people that end up getting in at 1641, you should be at break even at this particular point. Take profit is at 1650 or 1615.50 when it comes down to that movement. Remember, ride out that trade, see how well the market kind of reacts. Stay off, look at the 15-minute and then kind of keep on playing. If you have not got in, there is a counter trend line break that you could possibly be able to get into currently right now. I'll place my stop loss above 1634, and then after that, once again, try to go after 1615. Force that overall movement. But if you don't like what you see, lock in profits and be able to go from there. Already end up taking a partial profit off of that move a little bit earlier. Okay. Oil. Oil, remember, we're doing this as a long-term hold. Market ended up breaking above 84.30. We end up getting in there. We have two take profit values at this particular point. 86.57 will be the first one. The second one is 94.59. The third one will end up being the daily D extension, in which we finally end up seeing that there was a daily D extension at 104.33, if that does happen. Now, obviously, all of that has to be based off of catalyst. I think the catalyst mainly right now is that the weather is getting cold in this area, and typically when it gets cold in this area or get cold in the U.S., then you end up seeing the oil prices end up going up. So that's a historical movement, and with the daily being in a buy zone, it makes it a little bit easier to be able to make a move off of that. Now, with that being said, let me go ahead and go through and talk about what's on the Discord real quick. We get that over with and kind of go from there. First off, I want to go ahead and say thank you to everybody else that has been popping in and or has started to follow what we end up doing. Obviously, we've been going strong on this for, at this point, about 4 months. At this point, really start getting after it in June when it came down to that, and started really kind of going 2 days at a time. I mean, morning and night at a time, especially in August. Currently, right now, we finally end up hitting over 802 followers. So once again, thanks, and thank each and every one of y'all. Could not have done that without y'all. And really pushing at this point. I think 4 months ago, I think we was at 50. Yeah, we was legitimately at 50 and ended up pushing up. So once again, everyone, that's a credit to y'all. That is a credit to y'all when it comes down to being able to get that done. With that being said, talk about what we're doing with the overall. Talk about what we're doing with the overall Discord group. Essentially, what is happening is this, and I'm showing some messages, so I'm going to get off the messages. Essentially, what we end up having is a few different areas. We end up having an area called a farm, which is basically the free area for everyone to be able to get into. Essentially, what you end up seeing is you can be able to see economic news, you end up having a technical library or public library where you can get more information off of that, terminology, trade patterns, and everything else that ends up going along with that. Inside of our members area, if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more information about that, we end up having a private collection of books. They end up having almost 150 different books that you can end up getting from. Some of these I end up getting myself. Some of these I was gifted. So if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about that, you can be able to go from there. We end up having trade ideas, in which we'll start off in November 1st, where that will end up being placed in for the people that are a part of the overall members only area. And then after that, you end up having an opportunity to be able to be a part of the elite, where you end up getting different information about Forex, crypto, stocks, and all of the news that we end up talking about outside of these sessions, and being able to get your hands on expert advisors that are licensed to where you can be able to use them right off the bat, that has set files and everything else being able to get placed in. So if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more information about that, I end up placing in a link to where you can be able to take a look at that. Obviously, there's no, I'm not asking you to be able to say that you want to be able to do that, then you have to be able to pay for it. That is something that if you are interested in being able to do, then you're more than welcome to be able to be a part of that. But that's where the trading signals and everything else will be a part of inside of there starting November 1st. And on Sundays, that's where we end up having our private sessions inside of there. Now, lastly, before I end up doing that, as we are growing, I end up saying this before, the first 10 members of the elite and the first 10 members of the inner circle will also end up getting the FX Skywalker EA. The FX Skywalker EA is a Ikimoku breakout cloud EA that is set up for us to be able to go after being able to try some of these prop firm challenges. My biggest thing for this group, and I'm just talking in general, is that I know that a lot of people may not necessarily have the funds to be able to start off and truly be able to put in $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 inside of the account and be able to grow it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But there's prop firms that if you can be able to pass it, that you can be able to get said funds, and then after that be able to control your own money. So my goal ultimately is to be able to get everyone inside of the elite, everyone inside of the inner circle to be able to practice on being able to do that, so we all can be able to do it at the same time, and then possibly be able to grow. Obviously, grow the server, but everybody be able to grow their accounts at the same time as well. Now, obviously, um, I'm going to end up leaning on a lot of y'all that have been going through these prop firm challenges and everything else. I have personally not been able to do that as of yet, but I'm going to end up doing it with my automation systems, and I also going to end up doing it with some of the trades and stuff like that that we end up doing throughout these overall live sessions and everything else. So um, as we're building the group, that's the plan. I want to be able to make sure that everybody can be able to do that, and everybody else can be able to grow together. That's the only way that I think that truly you can be able to build a community. So uh, if y'all are down to be able to do that, then obviously um, here is the link that you can be able to possibly be able to get more information off of when it comes down to everything that we're doing with that. Um, but if you like what I end up doing, please make sure that you end up clicking on that boost button. That ends up helping out everyone else being able to see it, being able to grow the overall community. Thank you for being able to pop in. If you end up doing that, I really do appreciate that. And hopefully everybody end up having a great green week at this particular point in time. We're moving. And we've had, at this particular point, I think we've been positive for the last, I think we've been positive for the last 3 months, 3 to 4 months at this particular point. I don't think that we've had to lose a month while doing this. So that's great once again. But like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. I see each and every one of y'all in the morning for our last morning session of the week. And obviously for our last evening session of the week on tomorrow. Everybody, take it easy.